Hello, welcome to the Nairobi Health Show. I'm here with Brad Williams of the Over 40 Fitness Hacks podcast. Brad, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dave, for inviting me on the show. This is going to be great. I can't wait to have you on tomorrow on mine.
Yeah, this is a great a podcast swap. That's what we call this,
Yeah,
right?
pod swap.
A pod swap. And speaking of fitness podcasts, right? So we try to walk the talk and live the lifestyle. I had a meeting right before this, and I was hungry. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna whip out a green smoothie, before I get on with Brad. And
Yeah.
so I go into the kitchen and I throw some ingredients. I throw the banana and hemp hearts and protein and some berries and all kinds of stuff. And as I've been doing recently, I figure, hey, if I'm gonna make one, I might as well make three, right?
There we
Three
go.
bananas, lots. I got the Blendtec with the huge big jar, right?
Yeah.
And then I have two in the fridge for a snack tomorrow, one the next day, whatever, right? So I throw all the stuff in the blender. I hit the smoothie button,
You didn't put the
and
lid on.
all this. I did put the lid on, but it blew it off. And I was rushing to do this anyway. It's like 5 minutes before I'm trying to knock out this snack, and it just put purple juice all over my
Oh,
kitchen.
oh
And
man.
and my
Fun
my
mess.
amazing wife is up there right now cleaning up after me so that I can be here. Anyways, that's been my morning. How's yours going so far?
Oh, I've been up since 5:30 a.m. doing an early morning podcast for an East Coast time podcast, and then
Okay.
get my 6-year-old daughter to school, and then off to my chiropractor, and then rush back here to get on this. But after this, I'm going to be free and clear.
Well, fantastic. And we'll keep this to about 20 minutes. And I love your podcast, Over 40 Fitness Hacks. I'm just barely over 40 myself, or at least it feels like I just barely turned 40, although it's been a few years. But I love the premise. What prompted you to jump in and create your podcast?
Yeah, I think just kind of over the last 13 years of my career as a personal trainer and gym owner, a lot of us got kind of was dabbling in the online training field and all that kind of stuff. And um, podcasting came into me. Someone mentioned it in my network group, someone from England, actually. And they joined our group and just said, you never know who's listening. It's so scalable and get your message out there, help even more people.
Hmm.
So that kind of stuck with me. And then during COVID, it was like there was nothing else to do. So, what did I
Huh.
want to talk about? Over the course of the last 13 years, kind of my niche has just been, semi-private and private training with the over 40 crowd, because that was typically who could afford us and needed our help. And then lo and behold, same time, I'm 42 now. So I turned 40 as soon as I started that podcast. And the theme of it was, when I was a young 20-year-old, 30-year-old, personal training my older clients, they were crying about, how hard it was to lose weight and energy levels and all that. And, as a young personal trainer, I'm like, come on, you need to just, take a few more supplements, get some coffee, do more protein. You need to exercise more, you need to stay on track. And then lo and behold, I hit 40. I'm like, oh my God, these guys are right. For me, I'm a personal
Right.
trainer. I have to double up everything I'm doing, run more, diet more, and I'm still not happy with, I'm just teetering around single digit body fat when before it was like no problem. So that's why I think the show after, and to help all those individuals who are still looking to, get that, part of their fitness journey.
Okay, and let's jump right in now. Fitness hacks. I love that idea, right? We all like shortcuts, and shortcuts maybe isn't necessarily the right word. As a professional, I'm sure you're not trying to have people cut corners necessarily. I imagine it's more along the lines of the 80-20 rule, where we just don't want to waste our time on things that don't work, right? And maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but maybe if you could just talk to that premise of what exactly is a fitness hack, and what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so fitness hacks, it's more geared towards the over 40 crowd of here's the things that I've found to add to my program that have been the most beneficial and powerful without changing too much of what you're doing. As a
Okay.
trainer, I was really not big into focusing on one diet or one method of thinking. Mine was whatever the client likes doing, whatever diet they like doing, whatever type of exercise they like doing. let's stick with that. You need to feel good of what you're doing. If you like what you're doing, that's fine. So let me just see if I can add a couple tips or hacks to your current program, to kind of speed up the process. But yeah, over a training program with myself, it's all about baby steps and setting healthy habits and doing it long term. But people want to hear the hacks and see if it works for them. So I can
I
go
didn't.
into some of those.
Let's do it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to point you in this direction.
Okay.
What would you say is one hack you introduce people to that surprises them? Is there one that people just didn't even realize was out there that you tell it to them like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know about that?
Yeah. So I was prepped for that one for the very end, but I'll just give it up now. So
Okay.
an easy one that no one ever
Skip to
thinks
the end.
about, is not just tracking your macros, your protein, your fats, your carbohydrates, but tracking your micros. So your potassium, calcium, magnesium, all your vitamins. And the one specifically, when people start tracking them, and a cool thing for your audience to track these is go to a website called eatthismuch.com. It literally will show you everything every food product on the planet has. Not only that, but if you cook it, things change. You'll be surprised. So you need to know, did you eat it raw or did you eat it cooked? Whether it be meat, fruit, or vegetable or carbohydrate. And what you do is just, obviously you always got to throw out there, check with your medical professional to see if it's, you got to worry about one of the minerals or vitamins. But a good start is just Google all the RDAs for everything. Make yourself a little chart and then see just pick a day that, that you think you'll be on track with your diet. And this is what I would typically eat, and add them all up. And the one thing you'll find out is the number one in American diet is sodium is going to be astronomically high and potassium is going to be astronomically low. And that's so huge to have those flip-flopped as a 2-to-1 ratio, because potassium is what, helps with electrical current throughout your whole body, helps with, firing muscles effectively, but it also pulls in water into your cells. Sodium pulls water into the rest of the body, your arteries, your skin. That's why you get that bloating feeling, and you have problems with, blood pressure and all that kind of stuff. But you'll look at it and be like, oh my God, he was right. And so you got to fix that now. You got to worry about your sodium, but how do you get this potassium in there? And it's always better, I think, to get it from food sources. So just Google high potassium foods. Go on that website and you'll know, oh, I got to get kale and Swiss chard as a high one, but you got to cook it to get that potassium level high. And all of a sudden you'll start seeing,
Interesting.
Yeah, you'll start seeing your body will slough up 3 to 5 pounds of water weight because you push that sodium down. But also your muscles will look harder. You'll feel better during your workouts. And, it's just a cool thing to check out. And then of course there's calcium, magnesium. They all have their benefits to the body. You should check those out too. But I think potassium has been the one. I've never found anyone that was right on target.
Interesting. Now, I got to tell you, I do not trust the government's RDAs. I mean, they were made decades ago before biohacking. They were based on probably corporate propaganda that the government was being pumped. I just have no faith in. So let me just put that out there. When someone Googles RDAs, how are they going to get ones that are meaningful?
Sure. So, a cool guest I had on my show, Tim Kelly, I might actually refer him to you to go into all these different things. And he believes the same thing. RDAs they're just general guidelines. Everyone's body's different. So, part of the biohacking thing is, test each mineral and see if you can raise it safely and see how you feel. Everything is mostly how you feel, on something, or even same thing with a workout or even cardio. Like everything in life is take it slow, journal it down. How do you feel? You start feeling nauseated because you have too much vitamin C or potassium, then you tone it back down and then work on some of the other stuff. But I just do that more of the CYA to check the RDAs first, but feel free to explore.
Okay, so you tell your clients check the RDA, but don't
100%
like
go off
gospel truth.
Yeah,
go off of how's that working for you.
Exactly. And then just same thing with kind of moving on to a different hack. In my world of personal training, we're real focused on raising your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. That's how much lean muscle mass you put on your body, because you just become a calorie burning machine at sleep. And
Okay.
going back to RDAs on protein, that is so different from person to person, how well they assimilate it, how good is their gut health, their genetics. And same thing, the typical in our industry was, girls from 20 to 30, guys can do 30 to 40, but play with it. If you start using more protein, like me personally, I'm a 210-pound male, and I found that my sweet spot is like 60 grams in one hit. I assimilate, I stay lean. If I go any heavier, if I go any more than that, I start feeling a little bloated. I don't feel as well, and I'll start seeing the weight go up a little bit. So there you go. You just kind of
Okay.
biohack yourself, and journal down everything, so you know what your results are.
Okay. And that was BMR.
Yeah, and
Fantastic.
then kind of
Excellent.
going off with the BMR, it's kind of the same thing of putting lean muscle mass on. For my over 40 crowd, and my thing is, if you really love playing sports and you really love CrossFit, more power to you, but it'd be helpful to be as safe as possible. But if you're not, over 40 crowd needs to really watch injuries and how much they're damaging their body.
Mhm.
So a big thing we promote is, doing things with more quality. So what does that mean? Like really focus that mind body connection. Like when you're doing a squat, really focus on tight core, what muscles you're activating, and don't just rep out 20 as fast as you can. Take 5 to 10 seconds to go down, and the same thing coming back up, focusing on everything. You don't have to do as much. You don't have to do as much weight, which is the risk of injury. You'll be so exhausted, you'll know it'll feel like a 2-hour workout, and you can do it in less time, which is just more beneficial. So you can still stimulate the muscle, get the muscle growth, have your protein with just like a 30-minute workout. So, that's a big thing we push. And you can do that with any style of workout you like. I hate cardio, but I do enjoy walks. So I'll go put a weight vest on to kind of amp it up. And while I'm walking, I focus on my breathing. I only breathe through my nose. I don't let my rib cage come up. I let my diaphragm do the work. I do not lock my legs. I kind of have a bent knee the whole time. It looks like a little duck walk. And then as I'm pushing, I focus on kind of more of a ice skating walk. That way you can activate your glutes, your glute medius, and you just make that 30-minute walk just much, much more, beneficial to what you're doing. So that's what I kind of promote is whatever they like doing, just really focus on what's happening. How do you make it a little bit harder, and you'll get just so much more out of it.
I love that. You're on a roll. Keep them coming.
Another one, a cool trick is, I listened to some of your episodes, Dave, and I'm a big proponent of intermittent fasting. I forgot who you had on the show that was talking about that, and I do like dabbling in long fasting. I know you said you didn't like that,
Okay.
but I do also promote, whatever diet, whatever type of hack you're using. If it doesn't feel good for you, then it's not for you, because not everyone's the same. Our chemistry is all different. For me personally, intermittent fasting was huge. Cutting down all your food into a short time window, and still making sure you get your protein. It's a little hard. You got to be on your game of when you have all your meals. And then started dabbling more into longer fasting, and the benefits of that autophagy. You were talking about it with your guests on the show, but I did my blood work with my doctor when I started doing the long fasting. And intermittent did okay.
Okay.
Like he did notice some markers were coming down, but when I started the long fasting, I'd give myself 4 months and then retested my blood, and my cholesterol went down by 22%, the good and the bad. He said he's never seen
And you
anything
were
like
already
it.
healthy.
And I was already pretty healthy,
Wow.
but he saw it go down back to like
Yeah.
20-year-old status. So I'm just like, just that power of your body being able to clean itself is so huge. And not only that, but the hack is, I can go on, my whole thing on my podcast is, being over 40, being healthy as you want to be, but also having a social life. I refuse to give up my social life. And, I just came back from Vegas of this last weekend for the Super Bowl. Oh, I went nuts Saturday and Sunday. But Monday, I started my 48-hour fast. It took me time to get up to that long of a time, but I just feel good on it. It helps clean out that whole Vegas trip. I drop weight like crazy. And then I just started adding stuff more to supercharge that fast to get the more benefit out of it. And I heard you talking about Prolon, and I've heard that before, but that might be a cool thing I can try and add to see if, what could I get out of that? So
Yeah, they sent me this kit, and I don't want to do it.
we'll ship it over here.
This is a 5-day meal program. It's been sitting beside my desk for months. Victor Longo and his crew down there at UCLA were so nice to send it to me, and I don't want to do it. I should send it over to you. Actually,
I'll buy it off you.
Okay, you got a deal, because like I said, maybe one day I'll be ready for the longer fast. I try them, and I don't feel good, like what you're talking about. I start to feel miserable, and then I lose control. I binge eat, and I eat anything in sight, and it's I'm kind of a natural sugar addict if I'm not careful, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm like the recovered alcoholic who just has to admit they're an alcoholic and just stay away. Well, not stay away. I'm not an all or nothing guy. I do have some treats, and I try to live a lifestyle where I still can enjoy some of the foods that I love, even some of which are unhealthy. Dread the thought. But anyways, the longer fasts maybe I'm just a wimp. I don't know. They suck for me.
Well, I'd recommend, if you ever did try it again, to do what I did. Like, you start with intermittent, then you go for 12 hours, then go for a 24-hour, give yourself a couple weeks in between each one, then you go for a 36, maybe stay there for a while. And then when I did my 48, it felt better than all the rest of them. But it's also one that
I do 16 to 18 all the time, like every day, pretty much. I do a minimum 14. I often do 16, and sometimes I don't even feel like eating till noon. I might have dinner at 6, and then away I go again. That part of it is easy. The daily 24-hour cycle, part of intermittent fasting, easy for me. I enjoy it. I feel terrific. But the minute I try to go into the next day, or it doesn't work. But anyways, too much about me, not enough about the people listening. I want to jump in. I've got something here I want to hit you with. And since I knew this is some of your expertise you'd be talking about, and that is my fasting stack. I have a fasting stack of supplements that I take. And I've been thinking of making this like either a bundle in our store or something like that. And I'm still not 100% on it, but this is what I'm currently taking. And the reason why, Brad, is because some of these phytonutrients, you talked about tracking nutrients, micronutrients, not just macronutrients. I love that. And what I have found from I started in the supplement business in 2009. I've gone to a lot of the shows. I follow the research. I'm on examine.com all the time. One of the things I know is some of these things need to be in your body 24/7, and they don't last, right? You run out of them. Things like chromium. If you don't ingest it, you don't have it, right? Other things, it's different. So regardless, here's the thing. Every morning I take our own multi, which includes maca, which is an adaptogen, zinc, chromium GTF. I won't read you the whole list, but it's a multi, okay? But with some functional ingredients that a lot of multis don't have. In addition, I take our Mimi's Miracle minerals, which is trace minerals, those electrolytes that you definitely run out of in a fasted state. Then I take Pure Form Omegas, and I think any omega would do. I love Pure Form. It's a plant-based versus a deep sea-based type of omega, and that helps to digest the fat-soluble vitamins. Okay, so there's a method in the madness here of mixing these things together. Next is I take our Eat Anything prebiotic probiotic enzyme, which I feel like is good for my gut health and preparing my stomach for when I'm going to eat. Right. Then I take turmeric, which not everyone has to take. I mean, it is good anti-inflammatory for about anybody, but I take it specifically for joint pain. I've done a lot of damage to my joints over the years. I've had multiple operations, and it keeps me from suffering by taking that. And again, you have to take that on 12-hour cycles, or the curcuminoids aren't in your blood, right?
Yep.
And this is part of what I think a lot of people miss with intermittent fasting. They don't take anything in the morning other than water. And then the other thing I take is glutathione for boosting my immune system. And your immune system is getting compromised the longer you go without eating too, right? So, and maybe there's some debate over that, and maybe you have some pushback on that, I don't know. But that's what I take. I call that my fasting stack. And I just wanted to read that to you, run it by you, and see if there's anything you would add, tweak, or do you do a fasting stack? And what do you think of the premise of, in the fasted state, taking some of these supplements so that they're in your system?
Yeah. I'll tell you, I was going to have you on the show, my show, and really go because you seem to be well more knowledgeable on supplements than myself, and just rip mine apart. But I'll just tell you on your show what I take. So
Okay.
to kind of heighten up the fasting, I always start with a detox formula. So I take like probably a tablespoon of black pepper, which kind of eats the bad bacteria away, or kills the bad bacteria in your gut. I do
Okay.
turmeric. Everything I do other than the black pepper is about a quarter teaspoon. So I do cayenne pepper for circulatory. I do turmeric for
Okay.
anti-inflammatory properties. I do cinnamon, um, and then I think that's it. Then I'll put a little bit of lemon juice, and then I use stevia because I use apple cider vinegar in there, about a half an ounce, because I just
Okay.
can't. No one can stand the
Good.
taste of
Good
apple
one.
cider vinegar. Then just enough water to choke it down. And that's what I do every morning. But on a fasting day, I'll take that formula 3 times a day because of exactly the type of things you say, that your body is not going to hold
Interesting.
on to it all day. Um, and then I'll take a airborne, which has it has a plethora of stuff, and chromium and potassium, sodium, all that kind of stuff. But what I've found, what you really have to watch out for on a long fast, especially, is your body will start holding on to potassium for dear life, but nothing else.
Okay.
So you have to stop taking potassium, but you still need your calcium, magnesium, sodium, so important. Sprinkle a little bit of sea salt in your water.
Yeah.
And so, other than that, I started taking some aminos that I found doing some research that don't break your fast, because some will. So I only started taking those just to
Right.
help the process of not losing muscle mass. On a long fast, you're going to lose a little bit, but I don't do this all the time. So you just do your best you can to retain your lean muscle mass while you let your body just become a burning machine. And then here's a cool one. I've known about this stuff for a long time, L-carnitine, which I'm sure you're very familiar with. I would used to
I
use
take it every
L-carnitine.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I cycled it, but I would use it for only times that I was in an aerobic state, like cardio, when I was forcing myself to do it, because it only really works when your body is just using fat as the main energy source, like long cardio, and that L-carnitine helps your mitochondria facilitate that process of burning that fat for energy within your cells. So the more you take, the better that process is. Well, while you're long fasting, and I happen to be on keto as well, you are a fat burning machine. So you start amping your L-carnitine, and oh my god, it's working again, just like when I was doing long runs.
Interesting. Yeah, as a matter of fact, what I do, I take a pre-workout that has L-carnitine, and I have a no stim version with no caffeine, and I have a caffeinated version because I try to also not have too much caffeine. I like caffeine, but I
Yeah,
try not to have too
I take
much.
little as
And
well.
so, yeah, so what I do is I just each day I determine whether if I have a really hard heavy workout, I'll do the caffeinated one because it pumps me up a little bit more. But anyways, I take a pre-workout every day that has L-carnitine and a few other things in it. That's how I get it. I don't supplement with L-carnitine necessarily, but I
Yeah,
exercise every day, so I just always take my pre-workout that has it in it.
yeah. Do you know how many grams or milligrams it has?
It has 1,000, I think.
Yeah, so it's one. So I usually take on these long fasts like 3 to 5 grams, or that's 3,000 to 5,000
Okay, yeah,
milligrams.
I'm getting one gram
Yeah.
a day.
So maybe
Okay,
try
but I'm
that
not
out
going
and
to do
see
a
how you
longer
do.
fast. Maybe
Yeah, oh,
one
that's true.
day. Well, Brad, this has been terrific. You gave us lots of great tips. We broke our rule of 20 minutes by just a little bit, but I think people will forgive us because this was
No
such a
worries.
good interview. Thanks so much, Brad, for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much, Dave, for
How,
having me. And
yeah, and how do people learn more about you and tell us a little bit about your show?
yeah, so it's my show is called Over 40 Fitness Hacks Podcast. So just on your favorite podcast player, Spotify, iTunes, or whatever. My website is over40fitnesshacks.com. And both of those, by the way, are the number 4 and 0, not spelled out. And then on my
Uh,
website, it's the easiest way to get a hold of me, contact me if you want to know anything about me. And that's all I got. And another cool one, like the guest I was telling you, Tim Kelly. If you, my episode is 195. We really dives deep into all those micro minerals. If you were, wanted to kind of nerd out and get more in depth on that stuff, way more knowledge than I could ever, spout back out.
that sounds great. I'll look him up. And again, Brad, thanks for coming on the show.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dave.
Thank you. And to everyone listening, this is Dave Sherwin wishing you health and success.